We're going to move on now to the ACC because the portal king, Mike Norvell, has put himself together a pretty nice recruiting class. What stands out to you with this Florida State group?
Well, this is going to sound weird because they just lost KJ Bolden, the safety, but I still really like the defensive backs they have coming in. Jamari Howard, Charles Lester, who teased earlier this morning that he might not sign early. I think it was like 8 minutes later, Florida State announced him as a signee. These are guys that are over 6 foot. They have speed. They have ball skills. Play on go both ways. You look at the cornerback coach there, Pat Surtain. He comes from the NFL. I think it's been impressive what they've done in the secondary and really just capitalizing on this season. I think FSU does an excellent job of evaluating talent over the summer months, and they put themselves in position to, if they rattle off some wins, they can go out and get some guys, and they did that this cycle. Obviously losing KJ Bolden hurts, but it's still a really solid class. It's headlined by Luke Kromenhoek. They did damage in South Florida. They were active in South Georgia. That's an area Mike Norvell and the Seminoles really want to own. So a lot to like, even with KJ Bolden headed to Georgia.
In this cycle, they were living and dying by the flip. They came up short on the Jeremiah Smith sweepstakes. Obviously, he sticks with Ohio State. Then you lose KJ Bolden at the finish line to Georgia. But looking at their list, Landon Thomas is a tight end that they flipped from Georgia early in the cycle. Manasseh Atete, a big offensive lineman from California, they flipped from USC. They flipped Kai Bates from LSU. They had a delayed flip of Michigan State, Jamari Howard. So they've been kind of towing that line of let's get some guys, let's flip them, but also, trying to figure out how the pieces fit. It just so happened that at the finish line, things didn't work out with some of those others, but I don't think we should overlook what they did early on in the cycle.
You win some, you lose some. That's what this day is all about. And it's not weird that you said you like that kind of secondary group, because I think that's what Seminole fans want to hear is, okay, now that we lost KJ Bolden, what do we have after that? So it's good to know they have some talent. Looking at the quarterback position, Luke Kromenhoek is just a fan favorite here, just because you describe him as this one-of-a-kind quarterback and somebody that Florida State and Mike Norvell was on super early, and he's somebody that's going to come in early and go through some of these Orange Bowl practices, so you'll get him on campus. But what kind of quarterback can he maybe develop into in the future?
Well, I think an interesting nugget here is Zach Blostein of Knowles 247 reported over the weekend. Georgia called Luke Kromenhoek just to kind of gauge the interest with Dylan Raiola off to Nebraska. And he said, no, I'm in Tallahassee getting my physical right now, so I can participate in those Orange Bowl practices. I said it a little bit earlier. I think he's the perfect fit for Mike Norvell's offense. They want to move that quarterback around, throw on the run. He can do that. He's one of the best at hitting his marks when he's on the move. He's got a super strong arm, still kind of figuring it out, learning how to be a quarterback. But at the end of the day, 26-3 as a starter over the past 2 years, can run it. And what stood out to me really about this senior season in the playoffs, started at safety. 2 games in the playoffs and quarterback. I've never seen an Elite 11 quarterback, a blue chipper, actually play both ways. Luke did it. And Florida State, they're fired up about him. It was quite the steal for Norvell to trust the evaluation from the camp, decide to take him, and then have to fend off Penn State, Georgia, and plenty of others.
Think about the mindset that takes as a quarterback who's already got this full scholarship laid out to Florida State. You were at the Elite 11 finals, you put up these stats, and then you decide to go put your helmet on and play on the defensive side of the ball. Like, who doesn't want to play with a player like that? So Mike Norvell getting a competitor, getting a player that's going to suit up and go to essentially war for the Seminoles. And he's not far from being ready. Like, he's a work in progress. He's not polished fully, right? He still has some way to go, but I don't think he's that far off. Whereas a redshirt freshman, maybe if you need him in a pinch, he can help you because he's got that type of ability.
Yeah, the cerebral. I mean, just to be able to wrap your mind around going from reading safeties as a quarterback to then becoming a safety. And yeah, that is a team attitude right there, willing to suit up on both sides of the ball, especially at the quarterback position. I want to talk about the wide receivers because Elijah Moore, I'm reading here, similar to Keon Coleman. You look at his height, I think that's why we see it. He's 6'4.5", but what else about him reminds you of a guy that Florida State fans grew to love this year?
Yeah, I mean, he can go get it on the outside, right? So if you watch Florida State this season, it was Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, perimeter targets. They have Hakeem Williams waiting in the shadows. He was playing as a freshman, got injured. we keep saying it. It is a loaded year for pass catchers. So I think for a Florida State fan, you look up, all right, Elijah Moore not in the top 247, ranked 50th. I think any other year he's for sure in the top 247. I think he's, again, another perfect fit for what Mike Norvell wants to do. He can make plays on the outside, and then you pair him with a LaWayne McCoy, two-way athlete. I think the top perimeter talent for Miami-Dade County. I mean, Mike Norvell's getting the top perimeter talent for Miami-Dade County, and that receiver room is going to get better.
Absolutely. You took the words out of my mouth. McCoy is the good complementary piece. I know we mentioned it earlier with a couple other schools that you need that big home run threat, but you also need the underneath guy, the route guy, the dude that you can put in the slot that can make plays when they are maybe doubling or they have the safety covering that big name wide receiver on the outside. That's the new age of college football, and Mike Norvell was able to check off both of those boxes at the receiver position in this class.